Hello, AGS1. This is a video to help launch the lesson for you today. And as always, feel free to pause, rewind, review as needed. Okay, so this is how you can set up your page of notes for today. I'm on page 14. If you're not on 14, just leave a couple of blank pages. You can see we have an essential question here. Are there different forms for writing equations for lines? That's what you're going to be exploring today in today's lesson in the formative. So you'll see that we have two different forms here. One we looked at yesterday in class. This one is called the slope-intercept form. And this one over here might be new today. You might have been introduced to it earlier. But what you're going to spend some time doing today is looking at the two different forms and where they come from, how we might be able to get them from a pattern and a table. So I'm going to write underneath here the general form for each one of these. This was the specific example we did in class yesterday. So you can go back a page and refresh what it was we did yesterday with the slope-intercept form. So the general form of this, we know that we have a slope and we have a y-intercept. And so when we write the generic form of this, the general way, we call the slope m, we'll still keep the x, and we call the y-intercept a b. So if we were going to code this here, okay, m is how we'll represent slope. In this case, in that line, it would be -2/3. And then if we were coding this here, this is the y-intercept, which in this example here would be 4. And again, you can look back to yesterday's notes to see how we did that specific example. Now, the form today that we're going to look at is called the point slope form. So in this one, you'll see right away, one of the differences is that we have these parentheses and we have a couple of extra numbers in there. But let me point out a few things that should be familiar. This one, that still represents the slope. And the difference here is that these two numbers, they will combine together to make a point. So this is a good form to use when you have a slope and any point on the line. It doesn't just have to be the y-intercept like it does for the slope-intercept form. It can be any point at all. So the general form of this one, and I'll write it down below, this, since it's the slope, is still kept as m. And then we'll do x minus. Now this, since it's technically a point, we call this, and we already have an x variable here, this is going to be the x value of the point, so we call that x1. And then this is going to be the y value of the point, which we'll call y1. I'm going to redraw those arrows there because they didn't quite end up in the right places. Okay, so this is the x value of the point, and this is the y value of the point. You will spend more time with this in the lesson. I just wanted to prep you today with that information before you began so that you had a little bit of context and a little bit of a beginning point, okay? So here's the slope, and that means this particular point would have a slope of -2/3, and it would go through the point, color here, it would go through the point. Notice that minus sign is still down here in the formula. So it would actually go through the point 3, 2. Okay, more to come on that, but go ahead and set those notes up. The other thing that you will do, and I'm going to show you the rest of the page here. Again, feel free to pause, review, rewind as you need to. What you're going to work through in the task is how these forms come to be. So you will be presented with 3 different terms of a sequence, okay, and how many squares are in them. And you're going to be introduced to 2 people. One is Zach, one is Sion, and Zach sees the formula one way and Sion sees the formula the other way. So it's your job today to look through some of their thoughts and see where each one is going to come up with one that looks like this, one is going to come up with one that looks like that, and you're going to see what their thoughts are in coming up with those 2 different types of equations. Okay, I'm going to create another video for the end of this lesson just to sum things up, but that should get you started, and I can't wait to see your thoughts.